Ambassador Boucher, thank you very much for taking out time and speaking with VOA News here today. Let me fire away by asking you the question about the latest round of talks between Taliban and the U.S. representatives in Abu Dhabi. Do you think it's reasonable to expect a peace deal before the Afghan presidential elections, as has been suggested by certain U.S. officials?
Well, I guess I'd say, wouldn't that be nice? I think these things are going to be very hard to put your finger on how long it will take. I do note that there's been a certain amount of preparation before they started getting together in Abu Dhabi. So I guess the hope is that there's a foundation, but I think it can be very, very difficult. Remember, you're asking the Taliban to come in and respect sort of basic principles of democratic government and of civil rights of the population. And so shall we say, that's not part of their history. So I think it's very hard to put a finger on the timing, but one can only hope that they have an incentive to try to be able to participate or at least state their views during the presidential election.
Now, do you see any significant role played by Russia and China in bringing peace to Afghanistan, given what is going on?
I don't see much of a role for Russia. I think the Chinese role is actually quite interesting because if you look at where the Chinese were, say about a year ago, I mean, this is a big change for 2018. The Chinese were involved and pushing on the quadrilateral, U.S., China, Afghanistan, Pakistan side. By the end of this year, they started very tail end of 2017. They started having China, Pakistan, Afghanistan trilaterals, and the trilaterals seemed to be an attempt to sort of go their own way and come up with some kind of deal, and they in fact had meetings with Taliban folks as well. So you thought maybe the Chinese were going off to do their own thing. Then the U.S. comes along, appoints Shakil Afridi as a representative. He's got the capability of bringing the parties together. He goes to Pakistan, and he seems to be the one now who's carrying the ball. So in a way, you had a quadrilateral process that forked into two trilateral processes. And I guess I'd have to say at this point, the one with the U.S., the Taliban, Pakistan, Afghanistan is probably the leading one.
Right. Let me also ask you, now Islamabad has been quick to claim the credit for this. Do you think the U.S. hardline approach towards Pakistan is working?
I don't think so. You know, the United States, pulled something like $300 million worth of aid from Pakistan, held up some military repayments and things like that. But I mean, in the end, there's so much money coming in from China. There's so much internal domestic economic growth in Pakistan that's hardly affecting their attitude very much. I think Pakistan itself has been realizing over time that it needs to stop this war next door. And that Pakistan's standing in the world, not just with the United States, but with others, can be enhanced if they contribute to peace. So I think that's something going now where it's in everybody's interest to make this happen.
Now, do you think that President Trump, there's any reason to say that President Trump has succeeding in extracting the cooperation from Islamabad, which other U.S. presidents haven't managed to do?
No, I honestly wouldn't say that at all. Various people at times have taken a very hard line on Pakistan, and then they find one way or the other they have to figure out how to work with Pakistan. And in a sense, that's what Ambassador Khalilzad has done, is he's sort of, taken the hard line. That's where they started. But then he's gone and found ways to cooperate with Islamabad, both in the country and in other places, in the talks.
In your own experience, what's the key to making Pakistan cooperate on something as complex as Afghanistan?
I think the key remains to be how to talk to the Pakistani military. I know civilian leaders, Imran Khan has made clear he wants to make this part of his effort. Shah Mahmood Qureshi, of course, is quite experienced in this. So the civilians are naturally inclined because they see their attempt to govern Pakistan as being founded on control of the borders, control of the civil apparatus throughout Pakistan. And indeed, Imran Khan deserves a lot of credit for having done a lot in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa to bring that sort of governance to areas, tribal areas of Pakistan. But in the end, you have to be able to talk to the Pakistani military. You have to be able to talk to them and ensure that in addition to all their efforts, they say, to face the threats from India, that they understand that right now the most severe threat to Pakistan is from within, and that they're never going to be able to deal with a terrorist threat with the TTP unless they're able to control the border, stop the fighting spilling over from the other side. And that means if they accept that that is a major, which they have at various times in the past, then you'll get their cooperation on trying to make peace.
Now, how worried U.S. Should be given the Chinese and Russian pull on Pakistan in the medium and long term?
I take a very unbiased view to this. I think why? Pakistan will do what it wants. Pakistan is a vital interest to the United States only insofar as it's in a neighborhood that has had trouble in the past. It's in a neighborhood where terrorists have come from. If Pakistan is controlling terrorism within its country and contributing to the control of terrorism with neighbors in the region, it shouldn't matter to us at all whether they're friends with China or Russia. And indeed, China, I think, is finding this whole China-Pakistan economic corridor business a little problematic. They find that they have a much bigger stake in controlling terrorism than they thought before.
Right. Also, talking about the irritants in this relationship between the two countries, Shakil Afridi's issue continues to be one of the highlights. Now, some people have suggested maybe swapping Afia Siddiqui for Shakil Afridi could be a way about it. Do you agree?
No. I mean, I suppose so, but I don't think there's quite the logic there. And I wouldn't want to think that this kind of civil disruption that you have in Pakistan creates hostages that can then be traded, that anybody would want to do that on purpose.
Right. So coming back to the tumultuous history of U.S.-Pakistan relationship, is it always going to be transactional? Is it always going to be carrot and stick and sometime only stick? What do you think?
You know, I think one has to look more at Pakistan's future than the past. That and this is where I think the Imran Khan election is rather important, not necessarily for who he is, but who are the people who voted for him. And the people who voted for them are sort of the emerging middle class in Pakistan, the people who are finding the economic benefits of a better governance, who are trying to get rid of the old ways of doing things and do something new that, like corruption, that's more efficient, that delivers government services better and in a less biased manner. As that kind of Pakistan emerges, as Pakistan's economic growth continues, and in fact, it does continue at 5%, slightly over 5% a year. As that middle class emerges in Pakistan, as that civil society emerges in Pakistan, I think there'll be a new relationship with the United States and other countries on the outside.
Right, and also with regards to China, do you think people in Pakistan, especially the policy circles, have a nuanced understanding of how to walk the fine line given the strategic alignment between United States and India and the growing competition with China?
No, I don't think so, but I'm afraid that maybe the rest of us don't either. I think my greatest fear is that we see a sort of China-Pakistan, U.S.-India dividing line emerge, a line across Kashmir, you might put it, and that would be bad and dangerous for us all. I think people in Pakistan have not had a nuanced way, as you put it, of dealing with China so far. They've liked the money, they've liked the projects, and naturally they like the infrastructure. No fault in that, but they haven't insisted on the kind of transparency for the loans and the deals, the interest rates and things like that, that one would normally expect and that one would get if you in those projects with the World Bank or the Asian Development Bank or commercial banks. So I think they need to perhaps look a little more closely in Pakistan at how they deal with China and provide more information so that all of us can see more clearly what's going on.
Well, some of the senior officials here in the United States are also of the view that there is a strategic divergence between United States and Pakistan with regards to Afghanistan and the nuclear issues. Do you see, as we move into 2019 and beyond, that there is going to be some fundamental realignment between these two countries? Is there a reason for that to happen? Do you see it?
That was about 5 different questions, and I think it is, some of them it's yes and some of them it's no. Is that possible? Yes. I think my fear is that we just sort of by default, because of temporary setbacks or upsets, we fall into this, Pakistan, China, U.S., India sort of paradigm. Does it have to happen that way? No, I don't think so. And frankly, I think the biggest determinant is going to be, is Pakistan able to successfully help make peace in Afghanistan? If Pakistan is seen as a positive force helping make peace in Afghanistan and cooperating with its neighbors in Afghanistan, then I think we'll all treat Pakistan differently. That's been very clear from the Trump administration and frankly from previous ones too, that when there was, pulling aid back, making statements about Pakistan, has always been followed by attempts to get Pakistan's cooperation to help with Afghanistan. So if Pakistan can help solve the issues in Afghanistan, that would be a major step forward. And then I think that the second say is that the fundamental issue for both Afghanistan and Pakistan is control of its territory and providing good governance throughout their territory. And to the extent that Pakistan extend its government control into the tribal areas, to the borders, control its border, provide decent government services throughout its country, I think Pakistan will be the kind of country that the United States finds it much easier to cooperate with.
And just before I beg your leave, how do you see the relationship between Pakistan and the United States shaping up in 2019 and beyond?
The same kind of thing. The occasional fits of pique, a desire to see some cooperation on peace. And if we get the cooperation on peace, I think there's a foundation for rebuilding.
Well, Ambassador Boucher, thank you once again for taking time out and your valuable insights from VOA's Washington studio. Once again, happy holidays and goodbye for now.